Dr. Fauci and many other leading experts are saying a second layer, double masking, makes sense as they can block around 70% of the droplets that carry the virus. Whilst N95 masks, as their name suggests, can filter even higher to around 97%, what, not 95? It's not true for some homemade masks that researchers found sometimes only filtered as little as 1%. Yikes! More layers mean more threads in the way of the coronavirus particles, and tests have shown that by making a mask out of quilter's cotton with a thread count of 180 and above creates far better layers that stop the virus reaching our respiratory system, increasing the filtration and stopping power of the mask.
It's like if we take these slices of Swiss cheese to represent the microscopic holes in fabric. You can see that the more we layer up the Swiss cheese, the more it's harder for something to get through the holes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to eat those now. Or am I? Gross!
So having a mask made up of different fabrics with a high thread count can almost be as effective as an N95 mask, around 90%, so that's really good, especially as it may be hard to source or buy an N95 mask at the moment. It's also about how well the mask fits. If your nose is poking over the top, well then you're leaving yourself open to infection or infecting others. It's all about the layers that can also help it fit snugly, but aim for dense thread cotton if you can, 3 layers if possible. The key is quality and fit. For those who are frazzled with the whole mask advice thing, it's important to remember that just like the virus is evolving, the way we battle it with science is constantly evolving too. But the main thing to remember is that the masks won't stop everything, and they aren't a substitute for social distancing or hand washing, but all 3 of these will keep you the safest you can possibly be, especially against the new and more robust versions of the coronavirus. Masks can block about 60% of the virus that comes out of an infected person, rising to 70% protection if you're both wearing one. So it makes sense. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not real. And also, if you're vaccinated, that doesn't mean you stop wearing a mask. There's just not enough data to suggest it's safe to walk around without one yet. And let's excuse the pun, face it, it's better to take precautions than wish you'd worn a double mask from a hospital bed. Rains, LA County loses over 100 billion gallons of rainwater, basically the equivalent of 1,000 million swimming pools times 100, the length of a football field, and 10 feet deep. Now that's a lot of water. And if you can't contain it, then you get flooding, which is what happened in the 1930s. So they built the LA River, a giant concrete gully that stretches 51 miles from the San Fernando Valley to Long Beach and out into the Pacific Ocean. In a state that is currently mostly in drought, the future goal will be to harness as much of the liquid gold that the heavens can provide. But it's not easy. A lot of this water is runoff, meaning that it comes after travelling over many surfaces, washing with it pollutants, vehicle fluids, fecal matter, fertilisers, pesticides, heavy metals, and even trash. Not exactly the most drinkable of stuff. But I'll give it a go. I know! Stop it! Which is why your park, of all places, might end up being the quiet hero of it all. Many parks around LA have water storage cisterns hidden away underneath. For instance, in Santa Monica, a public library has a 200,000-gallon cistern that grabs the water runoff from its roof, thereby cutting down the amount of water flowing over the ground and into the sea, which it then stores to be used later to irrigate the garden areas and landscape around the library itself. Genius. The future is set to see a slew of water reuse projects come to fruition, including the Frank Gehry-inspired new master plan to turn the LA River into a series of sustainable parks. And also wastewater recycling, which is, as it sounds, from toilet to tap, and other clever ideas. Nearly 50% of Orange County's water supply is recycled, and LA County, with only 2%, will soon begin to increase its supply this way too, taking the pressure off the imported water we all so desperately rely upon. And with the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California under a new general manager who aims to shift the focus of his agency onto more recycling of sewage water, cleaning up groundwater aquifers, and capturing even more rainwater, then there's every chance that in the future, when it rains in LA County, we'll capture a great deal of nature's bounty to use for ourselves. So how long have we been hugging exactly? Well, most likely it started out as a way of sharing body warmth, but watch any tiny kid during the pandemic and you'll know it's hardwired to our soul. Babies reach out from the cradle. Even the word is old. Hug is believed to have come from the ancient Scandinavian hugger, meaning hippie. To comfort. Hugging involves both hands, so it's likely it was a way to prove friendship because you can't stab someone with a sword whilst you're doing it. It's ingrained in our culture. It's deep.
Here's the science bit. Hugging is basically touching. Virtual hugs just don't cut it because human touch is important. Why? Well, we have enough research to know about mothers and babies that wither without being touched, and how holding and touching reduces anxiety, improves sleep, and helps us empathize with others as we grow up. Without it, we can be developmentally delayed. It can seriously harm us.
As adults, studies have shown that medical staff who touch patients pre- and post-operation show significant reduction in stress and anxiety, which can only help recovery. Hugs are so powerful, there's even a living saint, Armour, that people line up for days to get an embrace with. It's powerful stuff. Hugging reduces blood pressure, cortisol, the stress hormone, and your heartbeats, but it also increases the happy hormone oxytocin, which helps us to bond with others. That might explain why some people give out free hugs. It's addictive. Oxytocin also makes us more resistant to fatigue, infections, depression, pain, cravings, and increases our patience with a frustrating world. So, when you're vaccinated or you're clear of COVID, make sure you hug safely but properly, and hug for longer, more than 20 seconds to release the oxytocin. And when you consider that body language is 80% of human communication, a hug is often a good choice for when words simply don't cut it. And now with all this science behind it, I can see why a hug a day should really be in everyone's prescription.